Topic 8, Lesson 4, multiplying two-digit numbers by two-digit numbers. The objective for today is I will use partial products to multiply two-digit numbers by two-digit numbers and find the products. In your notes, go ahead and write down this problem. Miss Gilman has 12 weeks to practice for a running race. Over the course of 1 week, she plans to run 15 miles. How many miles will Miss Gilman run altogether? Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and cube my problem. So I need to circle my numbers. I see 12 and 15. I see 1 week in there, but as I look at it, I don't think that that's important for me. I need to underline the question. How many miles will Miss Gilman run altogether? Box in all important numbers. So 15 miles. How many miles? So I know in the end my label is going to be miles. That's in my question. Miss Gilman has 12 weeks. She plans to run 15 miles over the course of 1 week. Okay, so the weeks is important because it is telling me that I need to multiply these because each of the 12 weeks she's going to run 15 miles. I'm going to eliminate any information I don't really need to know to make it a little bit more simple for me. So how many miles will she run altogether? So I have 12 weeks, and each of those 12 she's going to run 15. So my multiplication problem for this word problem is going to be 12 times 15. Today we're going to use a box diagram to start, and we're going to move into using standard algorithm to multiply these numbers together. Your box diagram will be set up like this. We have our 12. We're going to have our 12 times our 15. Making sure we separating out our 15. So I have 12 times 15. I separate out my 15 to give me 10 and 5. 12 is one of the multiplication facts that you should know. So if you need to use a multiplication chart, you can, but hopefully you're working on your facts to know these as well. Okay, so I have my 12 times my 1 giving me 12 and putting my 0 on the end. Or if you're really good at your facts, you should know 12 times 10 is 120. Now, 12 times 5 gives me 60. Remembering that these two are partial products, so I must remember to add. So I have 120 plus 60, and that gives me 180. So right now my answer would be she would run 180 miles altogether. We're going to use standard algorithm to show this as well. So in standard algorithm, you're going to start with your 5 as usual. So I start with my 5, multiplying it straight up times 2, giving me 10. So I put my 0 here, and I'll carry my 1. 5 times 1 gives me 6. 5 times 1 gives me 5, but I must remember to add the 1 that I have up here. So that would give me my 6. Okay, when I'm done with that, I cross it off because I still need to work with my 12, so I don't want to confuse myself. Okay, so if you notice that the number I got right here, 60, is the same thing as my 12 times my 5. So my 5 multiplied times the 12 right here. Now, when I'm multiplying using standard algorithm, I still have a whole nother number, my 1 right here, which in fact is a 10 because of the place value. I have to make sure that I multiply that number times my 12 as well. Looking down here, all you have to do when you come down here to start your next row, we always put a 0 in right here. That holds our place value. Again, because I have the number 15, I've multiplied my 5, but I haven't done the 10. So I'm thinking about the actual place value of the 1 being in the 10's place. So I have to hold that place value by starting with a 0. You're always going to start by putting a 0 there before you do the multiplication on the second step. So I multiply my 1 times my 2, which gives me 2. Multiply my 1 times 1, which gives me 1. Or I could see that I have a 1 here, and I know 1 times 12 is just 12. So I would write my 12 in right here. So because of that, I end up with 120, and I have 60. So again, this number here, again, it was a 1 in the 10's place, so it is a 10. 10 times the 12 up here, 10 times 12, which is how I got 120 right here. Remembering that these two are partial products, I must remember to add. So I'm adding 60 plus 120, which is the exact same thing as the box diagram on the previous slide. So if you need to go back and compare, go ahead and do that now. 60 plus 120 giving me 180 miles total. So she ran 180 miles altogether in her training for each of the 12 weeks. Looking at this, we broke apart my number into 12 times 5 and 12 times 10. Going back to that box diagram, that's the exact same thing that I did there. Now, in your notes, I want you to try this next one as well with me. I have 38 times 14. I want to use standard algorithm because you need to get used to using this. But if you need to use box diagrams at some point to double check and make sure you've done it right, you are more than welcome to do that. Okay, so I'm starting in my ones place down on the bottom. I always start with that bottom number in my multiplication problem. So I have 4. 4 times 8 gives me 32. Okay, so I write my 2 in here and I carry my 3. Just like we would in adding or subtracting or anything like that, we're going to work on carrying those numbers over when we bring them back. Okay, 4 times 3. 4 times 3 gives me 12, but I must remember to add this 3 that's up here. So I'm adding that and I get my 15. Like I told you earlier, I must cross that off so it doesn't confuse me later because I do have to work my 38 again, so I don't want to try to re-add those in. So once I've added them and gotten my number that goes on this top row right here, I cross off any numbers that may have been carried up here. Now, I'm ready to work with my 1, but I must add my 0 first. I add my 0 to hold my place value because I'm not just working with a 1. I'm working with a 1 in the tens place, so I'm holding that place value of the 10. So I put my 0 down there, and then I have a 1 here. So I could do 1 times 8 gives me 8, and 1 times 3 gives me 3. Or because I notice that this is a 1, I'm just going to do 1 times 38 and write my 38 right here. Again, these two numbers right here are partial products. I must remember to add my partial products. When you add your partial products together, you're going to get 532. If you need to rewatch that, go ahead. I'm going to do 2 more examples that you should write down in your notes as well. The more you do it, the better you'll get. I have 26 times 21. So again, I set that up over here, 26 times 21. I want to start with my 1, and I'm multiplying that straight up. 1 times 6 gives me 6. 1 times 2 gives me 2. Now I'm done with my 1, so sometimes I cross it off, sometimes I don't need to. Now I'm ready to move over to my 2, but wait, before you multiply anything, I'm working with a 2 in the tens place, so I must remember to add my 0 down here. Don't forget that step or you will not get the right answers. Okay, make sure you're always double checking that the first thing you've done is put a 0 right there. Okay, 2 times 6 gives me 12. I'm going to put my 2 here and carry my 1 up here. 2 times 2 gives me 4, but I can't forget to add this one right here. So 4 plus 1 gives me my 5. Now I have 26 plus 520. Quick addition gives me 546 as my final answer for 26 times 21. You could set up a box diagram, and you would want to set up a 2 by 2. So I'd have my 20 and my 1 and my 20 and my 6. And I could multiply, and I would have 4 partial products to add. You're always more than welcome to do that, or do your expanded algorithm over here like this, similar to this one. But with standard, you're having to write down less numbers. You just have to remember your place value and remember the numbers that you carry. Go ahead and write down the next one of 43 times 18 using standard algorithm. Remember, we learn lots of different ways to solve them, but whenever it specifically asks you to use a certain algorithm, you must be ready to use it. 43 times 18 using standard algorithm. Go ahead and start it on your own and check with mine. 43 times 18. Making sure I start with my number that's right here. I have my 8 times my 3, giving me 24. So I write down my 4 and I carry my 2. 8 times 4 giving me 32. Again, must remember to add my 2 up here, which gives me 34. So right here, this number right here is my 43 times 8. So if I just multiplied 43 times 8, I would get 344. Now, again, I'm moving over to work with my 1. It is in the tens place, so I have to hold my place value. So I write down my 0. 1 times 3 is 3. 1 times 4 is 4. Or 1 times 43 gives me 43. Partial products must remember to add. I'm going to go ahead and write down these numbers, adding them together. 4 plus 3 gives me 7, and 3 plus 4 gives me 7. So my final answer to this one would be 774. All right, go ahead and try both of those again on your own if you need to, or make up a problem on your own to try it out.